Hey, my name is Donald C. Kelly, the sales evangelist, author of Sell It Like a Mango, and founder of the TSC Sales Training Organization. And the best advice I've ever received from one of my leaders over the years was just simple idea. Look at the good leaders that you had, look at the bad leaders that you had, and you can learn from both of them. I was perplexed by that idea, but once he really taught me, I realized there's so much I learned from the bad situations that helped me to be a better leader. And it was amazing. And it's been helping me ever since.
Wow. So I've heard, right, that we lead by example or by warning, right? It can either be the example or the warning. So tell me something you learned from a bad leader, my friend.
Yeah, one of the things when I first, well, this was in the sales world when I came in, and the idea of projecting your anger onto your sales team or to the organization. This leader I had, she had no right being a sales leader. She got into a position because there was nobody else. It was a small company, and it was every day we felt like we're walking on eggshells. Who are we going to get? Are we going to get somebody that's going to be nice or somebody that's going to be mean and grumpy? And a lot of it was just projection, like projecting her personal feelings, what happened in her day, and it just carried her personality on her shoulder and what was going on in her life, and it was made it very difficult for a team. And even though we had may not have done anything wrong, it was still yet the wrath of X, I won't say her name, that was on all of us. And it just people left the company, and no one really respected her and had fun with her, and it helped me to realize that I don't want to be like that. I want to make sure that I take care of people, treat people well, and I can't treat them just like I would. I mean, you respect your family and treat your family well, but these are employees, people who are choosing to work with you, and you need to show them some respect. So, anyways.
Wow. Wow. That's so interesting. That's so interesting that she would just project and basically vomit all over you guys and make you feel bad. How did you perform, man? I mean,
Yeah.
how was performance on the team for you for all that?
I've always been someone that was self motivated, and that didn't help with it though. What I mean is like her projecting on us, no matter what it is. If you're coming into an environment where you feel that you're not cared for, you feel your efforts doesn't necessarily matter, you're not going to stand up towards that level of performance. And I saw that projected on all of us. For me in particular, I had good days where I was pushing through. He's like, I know I want to be successful in sales. I know I want to do well. So when I did what I wanted to, did what I needed to do. And there were days when, maybe I had, sales, no one is ever perfect in sales, where I had a down day and then coming into the office and hearing that, or down morning. And then next thing you know, that just piled on top of it, and not making commissions and not hitting numbers. You start losing hope. And when one of my, the guys I work with got another job in another industry, and then all of a sudden I started looking. So I wasn't necessarily caring about doing the role. I was sitting here looking at for other opportunities. So I wasn't at the peak of my game, and that felt deflating.
Yeah, well, that's sales disablement, which is the
Yeah,
opposite of what we're going to talk about today, my friend. Here on the
yeah,
Sales Leadership Show, we're going to talk about enabling sales.
yeah.
So Donald, if that's so deflating and disabling, give me how inflating or wonderful it is and enabling if you get a leader who actually believes in you and who doesn't project.
They look out for the future. They're patient. And what I mean by this is that usually those people have a system. When a leader is, I feel, is someone that, especially in sales, they have been, the best way I describe it is like you're cutting through a jungle, right? And especially if you're going in a company where you GTM, like, where you, GM, like, sorry, growth, you're trying to develop growth, or go to market ideas where you've never had any type of go to market policy or processes in place. Especially a lot of companies, people work for SMBs or startups. Your go to market, like, is, that's what you're doing. You're doing all of that. And I want a leader that has been through it before, that's been into the jungle. They've hacked through the bushes before. They know what machetes to use. They know what path to go. They know where to find the water. And when you're a great leader and you've done that before, then you know that if people follow the process that you have, the systems that you have in place, they'll thrive and they'll be successful. Some will catch quicker than others. And what I mean by this, let's say we took a group into North Florida recently. with some of the youth group, and we went on a 15-mile hike, right? Going through that, we knew, all of us that did it before, the leaders or have done hikes like that, we know you're going to get to water eventually. We know you're going to get back to civilization. But some of the kids that are going through it, they might, you're like, oh man, do we know where we're going? I'm scared. But we understood. We knew where to look for the snakes. We knew what what pitfalls to avoid, and how to follow the markers on the trees and so forth. So we were able to help guide them through it. Some people finish the course faster than the others, and it's the same thing with sellers. Some people catch on quicker and is able to start getting to quota faster than some. Maybe one of them takes 3 months and the other one takes maybe 4 months. It doesn't necessarily mean that as a leader you get upset and get angry. If you know the process, you know the course, and you know if they continue to do it, if they continue to walk, so to speak, they're eventually going to get there. And great leaders, they do that. They have that system. When you have a leader who don't understand the process, who's never been on a trail before, who don't know the path and don't have the system, they get impatient. They get pressure from the top, and then they start pushing that down on you, projecting on you, and they start saying, that's where you get those annoying leaders. You got to hit your numbers. You got to do whatever you got to take. You got to be, if it's unethical, do it. Like, just do whatever it takes to hit those numbers. And that brew an unsuccessful environment. So great leaders know the path, they have a system, and they encourage you and guide you through the system, and they're patient, that they know if you continue to do the system, you're going to get to the end goal. And that's how I probably would tie back a great leader. And I've had several of those that's done that, plenty of great leaders that's guided me over the years, and I'm thankful for them.
Absolutely. Great leaders make a great big difference in our lives, in our work, in everything
100%.
that we do. So let's shift. Let's talk a little bit about your book, my man.
Yeah.
Selling Like a Mango. What mangoes do mangoes sell? How does that work, man?
So I grew up in Jamaica as a kid, moved to the United States when I was 9. At one point, my cousins had me go, I was the youngest, climb the mango tree in the front yard and go pick mangoes. So people had interest in mangoes. I would go downtown to Spanish Town, and I see that people would sell mangoes. So then it hit me like, all right, people are buying mangoes. My cousins like mangoes. Other people probably want it as well. So I have this resource right here in the front yard. What if I pick mangoes and try to sell them myself? There was I had a motive. There was this little shop, we call it a shop, where some countries they call it a little tienda, like this little convenience store that was adjacent to somebody's house across the street from us, and they had some nice toys, and one of them was a ninja on a motorcycle, and I was like, yeah, that's cool, I want to get that. So I wanted to get some money. So therefore, that was my motive, that was my why, and I got my products off the tree. And one Saturday morning, I took my aunt, she had a plant stand that she in the front yard, and she had all of her plants on it. So I took off all the plants and I put the mangoes, and I sat right there under the mango tree. We had a fence, a big gate. Most people do in other countries, keep people out and keep pets in. And I sat there and under the tree, and I tried to sell mangoes. And guess how many I sold that day?
One?
None.
Absolutely none. I'm still no mangoes. I thought people wanted mangoes, Donald.
Exactly, right? So what was the difference? The mango that I had was the same exact mango that was probably the one down in Spanish Town. It's not like the mangoes are getting imported from like Indonesia or Bolivia. It's a mango from Jamaica, from the same region, from the same place. What makes the difference? And that's what it comes back down to, that it's oftentimes not necessarily the product. It's not necessarily the systems that it's not necessarily the products. It's not necessarily the features that you have. It's not necessarily any of those, because usually those things all match up together. Chris Brogan's out there saying, waving. Hey, Chris. You find that the products oftentimes the same, and it's the seller that makes the difference. And what I mean by this, when I see people downtown in Kingston, they didn't do what I did. Let's go back and understand. They didn't take their mango and go underneath the mango tree behind the fence. They were in the marketplace where people were gathering. And for me, I should have opened the gate and go out closer to the street. I probably would have gotten more attention that way. One thing. Two, I probably could have done a dance or a little chant. People sing, or they might say, "Come buy my mango, check out my mango." We went to Jamaica for a sad situation. My dad was still there, and he passed away last year. And I went down, and there's a guy, and I took a little video of him. He was on the same street that I was, that we lived on, in front of our family home in Jamaica. And I heard him outside. I heard this chant, and I'm like, what is going on? And he was selling limes. And he was like, "Sweet and sour, come get your lime, sweet and sour, sweet and sour." Again, other people were selling limes probably as well, but this guy found a good spot. It was the same intersection that I was trying to sell at. The same house, is the same place, but this guy was way more successful than me, and he was selling similar products. He was selling lime, and I was selling something sweet, mango. Same thing downtown Kingston. And when I came to software sales and I was selling software, I saw a similar thing. Whether it's our software, it was a document management software, managed IT services, or whether I was selling Dish Network door to door, whether I was selling security systems, like other people are selling the same exact things. Features are probably one or two off. So it's never usually the product in those situations. But what I saw with the most successful sellers, the top performers, was it was the individual that stood out. So I took those comparison stories from, a kid in Jamaica trying to sell mangoes to B2B selling. And what I came to conclude on in the book, and we go through 10 chapters, is that it doesn't matter what you sell, you just need to sell it like a mango. Sell it in a creative way, sell it in a unique way, stand out from the others. And it's a concept that I want to help new sellers understand when they get into the game, that don't worry about the competitors. Just make sure you, as an individual, you understand what you need to do, and you do that consistently, and then you follow the process and be different. So
yeah, I love that. I love that. It is all about you
yeah,
as the seller. It's all about you as the leader. It's all about you as the person that is going to make a difference. So with that, let's talk about some ways that we can make sure that we stand out, Donald. If I look at this, if folks are listening, you don't see this, but behind Donald is a nice, bright Tiffany blue background. It is beautiful, and it stands out and it says TSC Studios, right? So that is awesome, man. So tell me some ways that folks can stand out, some of the ways maybe that you stand out from other people.
Yeah. So one of the first things that I always look at in order to be successful, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And I'll give you some simple ways. And some people might listen to this and say it's not overly, they're overly complicated. They're not overly complicated. And they might say, well, it's not that. I've heard that before, so I know it. But oftentimes we don't do what we know. If I did what I knew, bro, I'll have a lean physique, abs, and I'll be bulked up and look, wherever I want. But I love my chicken and I love my barbecue, and sometimes I don't go to the gym when I know I'm supposed to, or go run. So therefore, we don't always do what we know we are supposed to do. So the couple things that I would go back in is I like to look at the smaller things that salespeople don't do. One of the things you mentioned yesterday, which was I learned early in my career, and then I failed horribly at it this morning, was to make sure that you do what you say you're supposed to do, like being on time and be in places that you're supposed to. I remember one client that I was meeting with, and I was late for this meeting, and man, I got ripped one. And it was just an executive, and this person was giving me time. They were respecting they're giving me of their precious time, and I sat there and I wasted it, and they were upset, and it ripped one for me. And I just took it and learned, and I had to improve on it. And that's one of the simple pieces, like respectable time, be early to those meetings. One of my leaders says you need to be there 15 minutes before the meeting starts, and I'm like, what? So these were in-person meetings. He's like, be there 15 minutes because you never know what could go wrong. And always be prepared. So that was one piece. So small thing. The second piece is prep. Most people don't send agendas before their meetings. And what I mean for this one is if I look at your prospects and you're meeting with these prospects, your prospects are probably meeting with, like you and I today, probably like 4 or 5 different meetings back to back. I can't remember everything from the previous conversations, and so can't the executive. So if you send them an agenda, here are some of the things we connected with last time, put that in the calendar invite. That's going to help you to stand out. And I'll talk about some actual prospecting stuff, but these are some simple things. And then the other component with that is a recap email. Sending that recap email helps to prep for the next one. I like to use video. Simple way to stand out, where I use a tool like BombBomb. You can use whatever you want, like Loom or Vidyard, but send a simple recap message, and it may go something like this. Phil, really enjoyed talking to you today in Mandy. And per our conversation, here are some of the things attached that I said I will send over. Also, the links back to watching the recording of the demo that we talked about. Here are the 4 pieces things that you mentioned that you guys were wanted to utilize, and how we feel that we can help you with that. Next steps: 1, you're going to bring tech into the conversation, and we'll bring our tech team as well, so we can do that tech evaluation. And then 2, we'll start drafting up the agreement, and so you can start getting legal to look at that. Let me know if there's anything that I missed. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Send over the calendar invite. But that recap now, you get that in like 30. You can watch it in 15 seconds. that's going to be way different compared to somebody else that's probably not even going to send a recap. They're just going to, send the calendar invite for the next meeting. So the little ways I can stand out. And the other ways that I like to do this too. So those are some simple things that you can do to make yourself more effective. And one of the things that we've learned from like Gong, they've collected data. We've learned this all from many of our sales leaders in the past, but Gong has ratified it, where it says salespeople should be talking 30 to 40% of the time, and then the prospect should be talking 60 to 70% of the time. And their data, when they analyzed these meetings, they saw that that's what the top performers ratios were. So in your meeting, as you're talking to your prospect, I love it, Chris. There's no agenda, no meetings. If you don't have the agenda, if you don't have that proper ratio, and you are talking more in that meetings, therefore you are getting more out of it. Help that prospect. And the greatest way to be able to do that is to ask more effective questions. What I like to do is to practice my questions. So even before I go into a call, I'm not sitting here reading over those questions, but all the time when I'm talking to people, even with my kid or my wife, I'll say, interesting, tell me more about that. I practice the behaviors that I want to project in my career or in other areas of my life. And this helps me to be a better listener. Go deeper. Whatever people say at the surface level is never usually the true answers. You got to go deeper. Most salespeople, I'm not saying all, but most salespeople, because we're so focused on jumping, we're not patient. We're going jumping to the end. We want to get this deal closed. We want to get this, get the things progress. Prospect throws out a challenge and we jump and bite on that. Usually, you got to go deeper into that. These are simple things that I'm telling you that makes the difference. And I'm not making this stuff up, because I coach and I listen to calls and I work with salespeople. And oftentimes those are some of the things that people oftentimes miss and to mess up on. And then the final piece that I want to go back over to some of the go-to-market strategy now. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, was using LinkedIn. I'm a big proponent of LinkedIn, and I love using LinkedIn top of funnel. It's very easy to set up an automated email through one of your many platform outreach tools and just send out these emails, these automated emails, or just do a bunch of cold calls, because that's what that's what you've done for years. And I have nothing against it, because I teach those strategies. I like to make my cold call warms, and I also like to make my emails a little bit more, make them get open. We call that having a point of reference. So I go to LinkedIn first, where I can look for folks and I can make that interaction and start that engagement. Our philosophy is simple. We want to grab attention, then we want to get engagement, then we want to start conversations. Conversations leads to opportunities. Opportunities lead to, obviously business being closed. So in my case, what we do, similar to what we talked about yesterday, I identify people that are more likely to be able to answer my emails. That are more likely to engage with me on LinkedIn. So I teach a lot of folks how we can go about taking advantage of that, how we can utilize LinkedIn, how we can grab attention. And those things make a big difference when I do send that first email now. I refer back to that conversation that we had on LinkedIn, therefore making a point of reference. And then when I do make my phone call, I'm more likely to get that, because most people have caller ID and they're able to reference back to my email or to my LinkedIn. So therefore, that conversation becomes so much more effective. Simple things that help you to stand out. It's like me yelling, nice unsweet lemon, nice unsweet lemon on the street, as opposed to sitting there. I have lemon, buy lemon. Am I making sense on this, Phil?
Absolutely. You're making a ton of sense. And you talked about some simple things that a lot of people don't do. And I really love that, because it's so important. Prepping, right? Send an agenda, send a recap email, doing the opposite of what people are doing, making sure that you have a point of reference. I would also say, you talked about LinkedIn. LinkedIn also helps people know your name. So it's not just a point of reference in your subject line, but it's point of reference in the sender, who's it from, right? Like if I get an email from Chris Brogan, if I get an email from Kelly Naeem, if I get an email from Tracy Ingram, I know who they are. I know I'm going to get that, open that message. It doesn't even matter what the subject line is, because I know who they are, right? If I get an email from you, Donald, I'm like, oh, I don't even need a subject line. So point of reference is both the sender as well as the subject line. If you can do both, you can win a lot more opens and a lot more meetings, because people know who you are and what you're talking about. Is that what you're finding as well, my friend?
No, that's exactly what I mean by that. That's 100%. Because here's how I do my emails. I'll open my emails, and I'll respond to the people I know last. What I do first is I go and see who I can weed out. and I don't know you, I typically, so I mean, it's just my habit. I realized this and I was like, holy moly. And I started talking to other people and I realized they do similar things. Like, I don't know this one. Like, I'm looking at my email right now. I see an email from Phil. I see one from Lindsay Scott. We communicated back. I see Varun, and I see my teammate Priya. I see some, this other one here. I have no clue who this is. I'm deleting those because those are in my way. And then I go for the ones that I know. I mean, obviously, if they're, it takes me more steps to look at those other ones, right? I might look and see I don't know them, and the subject line definitely looks like it's pitchy. And if I see that it's pitchy and I don't know them, I'm not going to have any engagement or any interest in that. So I like to look for people that I know first off. And it's the same thing that happens. And I give you an example how we do this. Like, if you can understand human nature, you can understand how to sell. If you understand human nature, you can understand how to be successful in business. If you understand human nature, you can understand how to be successful in life. So we go to a networking event. Anyone you go to, it's a cocktail party or whatever it is, like after work, happy hour, you go into a room and there's 40 people in there. The first thing you're going to do is that you're going to look for people that you know. You're going to look for people that you know. So if this is the case, then if I'm trying to get your, if I'm trying to be successful, and this happened in a networking event. The same thing happens in our emails, and the same thing happens to, like, at church. The same thing is going to happen to us at work. When we get to work, you go to your area, but you might see one of your teammates. You go to a break room, if you still do that these days. And the same thing happens, anywhere you go in life. You try to find people that you know. We were watching a program the other night on TV, and it was some. It was with our church, and they had this choir, and then instantly we started looking at a choir, like, do we know any of those people? Like, just what we do. So if this is the case, then think about this. It's just so silly. Like, when we do emails, why would it not matter in an email? Why would it not matter in cold outreach? And of course it does. And I feel this is not. I'm not an anthropologist or anyone to study human behavior or psychologist. But what I tend to see is this. I believe that this goes back to our era of growing up within our tribes and being someone I grew up in a civilized place in Jamaica, in a community, but within our community area, though, we have our fence. And if we don't know somebody, there could be Badman, right? And I'm not going to let anybody come through our gate. Same thing. We're not going to just let anyone come up through our gate or come into our house. You're probably not going to do the same thing because you have a ring at your house as well that your camera comes on. So if this is the same thing, if we behave this way, just understand human behavior. We do not like strangers, just straight up. We don't like strangers. And in sales, especially executives, they know that strangers who are salespeople are trying to take something from them. They're trying to pitch something to them, trying to take their wallet, so to speak. And if this is the case, you're going to defend themselves against that. So you got to come to this as a way to, without a threat to individuals. And usually that comes from the opportunity to make a connection, a genuine connection. Once we make a genuine connection, we're like, yeah, man, come in on my yard, man. Come over and yam some food, man. Eat some coconut, yam some mango, man. Like, we get to that point. And the same concept applies to our email. Same concept applies to the phone calls that we will accept. So if this is the case, then so what I typically would do is I would look for ways that I can make that connection to that person from a platform such as LinkedIn. So Phil, let's say you have a great post here with you and this guest on your podcast, and I want to grab your attention. I will comment on this bad boy for sure. And I'm not just going to say great interview. I'm going to do like some of these folks here, a genuine comment from that. Then I want to grab your attention. I'm going to send a connection request. I personalize my connection request. I might say, Phil, love the session today. That mango idea has stood out to me. I'm about to go apply this. Permission to connect here on LinkedIn. Now you might say, okay, this guy cares about something that I like, my baby, my show, and he, referred to that. So I want to see who this person is, and I grab attention there. I'm not manipulating. I'm just focusing on something that matters the most to you, and speaking about that. And then usually we're going to start engagement. I might say, Phil, do you feel that the concept that Donald shared today could apply to any type of business? You're going to respond. I know you're going to respond to that. And you might say, yeah, of course. We start a dialogue, and that's all that I want. I got engagement and I have dialogue, and who knows where that conversation is going to go. But you're going to look at my profile, you're going to see what I do, and you may tuck into the back of your brain or whatnot. I might identify something relevant. I might see that's something that you're doing, and be like, man, actually, Phil is hiring like crazy. Look at their team's growing. I know he focuses a lot on, on business development. And maybe let's say you're not in that world, right? I know you're in that world right now, but let's say you're not. You're an executive, and I might say, my gosh, like I wonder if what their onboarding process is like and their LinkedIn training, if that's something that they're relevant, that they're doing a little bit more. And I might look and see that your team's growing. Maybe they're not posting a lot on LinkedIn. So I might ask, Phil, permission to ask a question, and I can drop an email or whatnot. Notice that your team's growing. You guys are doing a lot of stuff. We see that most people are doing a lot with LinkedIn. Is that a part of your strategy, or is that purposely you guys are doing something different? And you're going to feel inclined to at least respond to me at that point, since we had so much dialogue, because I am a friend that you're going to let potentially in your gate, and maybe not in a house yet, but we can probably eat mango and have the conversation, because I'm not a threat overall. Anyways.
Beautiful. No, that's so much goodness there, right? Be a friendly, don't be a stranger. Super awesome advice all about that. I think that was kind of the key to that. But let's answer we got a viewer question here. Chris Brogan says, is clever a way to get attention, or how would you break through? So Donald, what do you think?
Yeah, I think clever is definitely, and I would say like clever, you can go back to the principle is that in order to be successful, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. So clever, if you were to look at it in that way, I don't want to make it sound like I'm being disingenuous, but I feel that we have to have some kind of clever engagement or clever interaction, because so many of us are being bombarded. Like even right now, you all are watching this, but you also have your emails going, and you potentially have text messages coming, and you potentially have you probably get have other team members that are distracting you that might grab your attention on Slack or whatnot. So we have so many different things that grabs our attention these days. So in order for us to be able to break through the noise and to break through, it requires unique attention grabbing or being clever. If somebody sends me, 5 people say, well, now I'm going to send a LinkedIn connection request to you, and I'm going to send you, hey, I would like to add you to my professional network. 4 of them send that, and the 5th person sends something about my podcast in appearance with you. That's clever for me. It's different. And yes, I'm going to look at that one first and see what's so engaging about my interview to you, because of my ego. And I don't care who you are. Everyone has an ego. Nobody posts something or go on something like this because I don't want anyone to say anything, or I don't want anyone to comment on it. I'm just going to do a post. So if you do that and you make me feel good about something, an idea that I shared, of course, I'm going to be more inclined to listen to what you have to say at this point. And that makes it a little bit more effective with my communication with you. So I think you do need to be clever. And go back to this again, it's harder and harder. And if you look at, even LinkedIn is recognizing the importance of clever. If you look on an app now at the bottom, you can see a thing that says video, because they recognize it's harder and harder to break through the noise. And TikTok showed us it worked. Instagram borrowed it, and obviously he used it effectively. And now we're seeing LinkedIn, a platform, taking advantage of videos, because they're looking for clever ways to keep us on a platform, how to be different and how to be unique and how we can consume more content, because more and more people want to be entertained rather than to be educated. So therefore, how can we entertainingly grab your attention and to make sure you can get the educated content?
Yeah, I think that's so right on. Well, with that, let's talk a little bit here about what Jeffrey says. He says a pitchy person hit him up 3 times with a different approach. The 3rd time, though, she went after his ego. And that's interesting because often that will get a response, but not the response you want to get. So, Jeff, I think that's a great point there, that a lot of times that might get a response, but that's cleverly pain in the ass, not cleverly relevant, what Donald is talking about. What do you think, Donald?
This person definitely understands human behavior, and she was pushing some buttons there. I don't know if I'd go necessarily that far to do that. I think I probably have more creative ways to be able to grab your attention, Jeffrey. But I can definitely see how people can get riled up for something to that nature, and I would probably get riled up too with it. But I'm glad you calmed down and let level head and
ignored it. And ignored it, right? Because if somebody's under your skin, you're probably not going to buy from them, though they might get excited. You're probably not going to buy. So Donald, let's give them one more actionable piece of advice here as we wrap up here. One more way that they can get started on their journey towards enabling their own sales and standing out in a crowded field.
Yeah. So here's one of the pieces that I would say, and all of you more than likely are B2B folks and your teams are out there. I just want to share some stats with you, and just you take it and you run with it accordingly. But I'm going to give you some ideas. If you look at LinkedIn, LinkedIn is a gold mine. I think we can all agree on that, right? This is a place where it's a intersection of for B2B folks, and we gather and we come to get water, so to speak, our watering hole within our different niches. Of the people that are on LinkedIn, they're just hit that 1 billion mark, 1 billion users, which is pretty phenomenal. Of the 1 billion users on LinkedIn, let's say about half of them are active. So let's say 500 million, like I just can't even fathom that number, 500 million human beings are active on the platform. Maybe they're regularly there somewhere, somehow, sign in or whatnot. Of those 500 million, only a fraction of those percentage are posting content. And what I mean is about it was one in 2021, it was about 1% to 2. They just hit the 2% mark. Now you're probably seeing maybe about that 3 to 5%. That's still really ridiculous. Just think about that. About 3% of 3 to 5% of those 500 million users are posting content once a month on LinkedIn. That's crazy bonkers. And think about the billions of impressions that they get on those posts that are there. Here's what I'm getting at. If you're trying to go to market, if you're trying to take advantage of the platform, I'm not telling you to become an influencer. What I am sharing is to become an authority leader or be seen as an authority leader in your niche. And you don't need to have 10,000 followers. You can have 500 people that you have genuine connection with and make magic. And hear me out on this. The thing that I teach to a lot of our folks is that I have them look at their LinkedIn connections when they tell me like LinkedIn doesn't work, I can't get any business from it. And I had them look at their connections and I say, search for your ideal customer on those 500 connections you have or 1,000 connections you have. And it can do different variations. And usually they come up with about 10 to 20% of the people that they're connected with potentially could buy from them. But hear me out just one more time. Just really hear me out on this. About 10 to 20% out of the 1,000 people that they're connected to has the potential of buying from them. So who the heck are we entertaining? Who the heck are we connecting with? Friends from college, and it's okay to have that. We have friends from college, and we have like our cousins, and we have our aunts and your moms. And I love my mom and all that stuff, but my mom ain't got money to pay 10 grand for a training program. So it's like we'll connect on Facebook and we'll do text messages, but my mom can't be my ideal customer. So we need to make sure at least what I recommend is about 50% of the people you're connected to should be some of those people who can have the power to capability of buying from you. So what do you do for this? Look for ways to get like Navigator or get one of these other the premium tools and send out personalized connection requests to ICPs that are active on LinkedIn and connect with them. Build your pool, build your network. Because your niche, maybe in your niche, there are like, maybe 50,000 people. You don't need all 50,000 people to follow you, but if you had, 2,000 of those people in your niche that you're connected to, money in the bank, this is amazing. And your ICPs, this is great. And let's say that you have 4,000 connections and 2,000 of them could buy from you. This is amazing. In your niche, you become this authority leader. And here's what you need to do. I recommend posting once a week on LinkedIn. And again, you don't need to be an author. You don't need to do anything crazy. You can do a simple video. But when people come to me and say, well, I don't know what to post on LinkedIn. Well, let me give you a stat. HubSpot pointed out that 44% of executives, 44% of executives say they discover new products and new solutions through social media. Let it simmer in for a second. 44% of executives say that they discover new products and new solutions via social media. Again, this is pretty gnarly, right? So these are executives. So again, if you're going for your ICPs, you're connecting with them on social media, and now you start to share relevant content. You begin to stand out. In order to be successful, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. LinkedIn's biggest problems that they have is because they had the name professional network in their early on. So most people say, well, I don't have anything, I don't want to share anything and sound like an idiot to, the Chris Brogans of the world or to, the Tracy Ingrams of the world. People are going to see that and say that sounds silly. My colleagues are going to see that and sound crazy, but they're way willing to share some conspiracy on Facebook. They're willing to share coffee on Instagram and so forth. But when it comes to LinkedIn, where their prospects are, where opportunities are, they're not doing it. And because most people have this fear, only a small percentage are posting. So what do you post? Here's what I'll tell you. Think about the conversations that you have with your first and initial prospect. Maybe think about what are some of the reasons why they take that first meeting with you. What are some of the objections that come up in that first meetings? Some of the questions that they ask in that first meeting or the top of the funnel. So such as, I'm not sure if I say I sold CRMs. I'm not sure if I need a CRM. We like using Excel. It works better for us. Our company is different than most of the other companies. So it's all right for us not to have a CRM. Or perhaps CRMs are too complicated. All of these now become excellent posts that you can share, because majority of people, again, who are willing to discover new education and new things on LinkedIn are willing to read those posts or to watch a video that shares, or that if it's entertaining enough to grab their attention. So the content, if it's something that your ICP is going to bring up or have engagement with in a top of funnel conversation, I guarantee you more people would be willing to read that or see that or to check that out when you post on LinkedIn. So it may go something like this. You do a post, and on that post, you just talk about a problem. We don't need a CRM. Our company is different. I would put that at the top of my subject, my post. And then I would say, this is something most people feel, this is the way most SMBs feel about CRMs. And I totally feel where they're coming from, because I felt the same exact way. And most of my clients felt the same exact way before they fixed the problem. What they found, however, is that though they can have a CRM and though they can use Excel and it's a little bit easier, a little bit more functionality, a little bit more cheaper, the functionality becomes really, really awful. And it's become very difficult for them to be able to truly track their deals. Blah, 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 blah. Give a testimonial. I'm curious to hear about you. How many of you have ever tried using Excel before or considered your CRM? But now I might get that, or I might even do a poll on that. CRMs are complicated, true or false? Now I do a poll, and my engagement going to go out the roof. Now I start to get, I'm the person in my space, in my niche, in this 2,000 people that I'm connected to that are sharing insights, and most of the other salespeople aren't doing that. So clearly in the mind, go back to human behavior, human nature, this Donald Kelly guy knows a little bit more than these other people that are in my space. And I'm discovering new stuff. I'm willing to learn. People are the issue. One of the issues, and I'll shut up after this. You open up a can, Phil. I love this. Can't tell a podcaster one last thing, right? So the issue that I see is that most of these prospects, 44%, again, people are on platforms willing to learn. Most salespeople are going on a platform to sell. So we're getting like this. We're not getting through. But if we go on a platform, if they're willing to learn, why don't we go on a platform and go teach? Now we have this opportunity to connect further and have better conversations. That's going to get the engagement. That's going to grab the attention when you have posts like that. Then on those posts, everyone that likes it or comments, I'm going to engage with those suckers. I might say, hey, if it's a second degree connection, a third degree, or somebody that I know comment on that post, bet you I'm going to drop that engagement. Be like, hey, Tracy, thanks so much. I appreciate appreciate you engaging on my post. Permission to connect here on LinkedIn? Of course, you're going to connect back with me. I might then start a conversation around that. Tracy, out of curiosity, are you an Excel guy yourself, or are you a CRM person? CRM, what do you guys use right now, if you mind me asking? We're using HubSpot. Awesome, pretty dope. I love HubSpot as well. I use it for years. Out of curiosity, what made you choose that? And we might start that conversation. And next thing you know, you might say, yeah, we like them, but I wish they had this thing better. Well, totally understand that. That's something I've seen too. If you're open to a conversation, we'd love to share with you a couple ideas on how you can work around that, or some other tools you can take a peek at. Yeah, I'm open to that, because I'm an authority figure. I shared something that became an expert in his eyes, and he's willing to take that meeting for me. And that's how I get 90% of my meetings. There you go. I'm done. Tracy's using Airtable.
Yeah, there you go. Right. There you go. That's fine, Tracy. You stick to Airtable. We're going to stick to.
I like it. I like Airtable.
So I want to wrap this up. First of all, I want to invite folks to go deeper with Donald. If you want more from Donald C. Kelly, go to the salesevangelist.com. And then I just want to repeat something that Donald said. He said 44% of executives, they say that they've made a decision by something they learned about on social media. So be an educator, not a seller. You want to enable your sales, educate people, don't sell them. Donald, this was awesome, man. We could talk for hours. I really appreciate you, brother. Thank you. And check out Donald's podcast too. Donald, what's the name of your show?
The Sales Evangelist. You can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts, or hit me up on LinkedIn and say, Donald, want to check out the show, and I'll drop you one of my favorite episodes.
There you go. Sounds great. All right. Again, go to thesalesevangelist.com. Get to know Donald C. Kelly. Thanks, Donald.